We are live, and welcome everybody. This is Joe Milton of the International Society of Professional Wedding Photographers, or the ISPWP, and today we have the pleasure of talking with Greg Hastain and Frances Davis, Portland, Oregon, my hometown.
Hey.
Welcome, guys. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Super stoked to be here.
Yeah, so glad. So why don't we get started by just talking about how you guys got started, a little bit about your business, anything you want to do, like a brief introduction of who you guys are and what's going on.
Okay. I mean, I
say I'm a client saying, so who are you guys and why should I hire you?
Oh man.
Frances drew me into wedding photography, and she got her start in Florida.
Yeah, I studied photography in college in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I did an apprenticeship there with a pretty well-established photographer, and she actually taught me how to be a wedding photographer, how to actually make money from photography. I learned a lot of theory in school, but how to actually practice it, I learned from her.
And she also learned all the best practices, like backing up memory cards and having backups of everything and all that cool,
all the nuts and bolts kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And then moved back to Puerto Rico after college and worked with my family for a little while, my dad was actually doing wedding photography
in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And so I started working with him. We were working together. I had the education and he had it more organized and together.
Mm-hmm. So is he like a photographer his whole life? Were you sort of around the whole photography thing?
He always had an appreciation for art. Both my parents have a deep appreciation for art. I grew up in New York City, actually. I grew up in Manhattan. And every weekend we would go to a gallery opening or some odd show where children were questionable for children to be present, but we were asking questions. We're I don't know what the artist thought about this, So we were those kids, sort of always at museums and stuff. But photography specifically, he picked up a little bit later on. He was doing a lot of underwater photography, working as a scuba dive instructor and boat captain in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of joined the team and then, progressively, slowly took over the business. Took over what was Rincon Images was the original brand. And then I met Greg, who was only supposed to be in Puerto Rico for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he met me.
Yeah.
And he decided to stay.
So much for that idea, right?
Yeah. And
the rest is history, yeah.
The rest is history, totally. And came on the team and has really pushed me to become a better photographer. And
Greg, I looked at your website, so I looked at the sort of the bio information on your website. So Greg, you have a lot of art type background as well, right?
Yeah, I went to art school, so I studied art in college at Portland State University.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a drawing and painting focus. And so I was a painter and a tattoo artist before I was a photographer. So I was a tattoo artist for about 10 years. And I had a tattoo studio in Puerto Rico that I had opened there and gone through all the permitting and all of that stuff. And that was kind of at the time when we were getting together and I was starting to get more and more involved into photography. And generally when I get interested in something, I dive in head first.
Obsessive.
Sure.
Hardcore obsessive.
Ultra focus.
Ultra focus.
Yeah, and so
it's really cool.
I kind of say that was kind of I was very, very lucky and fortunate with my experience with photography because I got to do what I kind of called it a boot camp, because I would learn these things and then go and assist and help her at weddings.
I handed him a camera. I'm just do it. Just go.
Yeah, my first wedding, she was like, "Can you assist me?" She's handling everything, and that's how it was. And I just kind of got tossed into it.
Right.
But as I was learning more and more, it was great because I would learn a technique or something, and then when you go and do it on wedding day, it really ingrains it into you.
Yeah. Well, sure, you have no choice. You got to sink or swim, and you got to learn it, right?
Yep, you got no choice. And it was cool too because during that experimentation period or when I was learning online, all these things. I would go to Frances and I'd show her something. She'd kind of go, oh, well, that's cool. And then we'd be reviewing photos next time. She's like, oh, I tried out that thing you showed me. And then, you know, and so it's kind of been a back and forth like that.
It was cool. I feel like I had the technical knowledge and skill to like execute the ideas that he would bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right.
So then we just kind of progressed, and it was like about 3.5 years ago that I made the full switch. So at that time, the tattoo studio became our photography studio, and
for a location, you mean, for like a physical?
Yeah, physical
Okay.
location.
Okay.
We did a lot of work there, but we still had a space.
Okay, so no more tattoos.
No more tattoos. I haven't been tattooing for over 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been full-time photography and wedding photography.
Wow.
So yeah. And
Do you see like the background in painting and tattooing? How does that transfer over, or how does that sort of inform or influence your photography? Have you seen any crossover at all?
I can say something.
Yeah.
Greg does these incredible gestural, really soft, like charcoal drawings and paintings, and a lot of his photographic imagery has like a similar look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like these softer areas, like more shallow depth of field, and then unusual sort of cropping are like very characteristic of Greg's photographic work. And it's the same in his drawing and painting. It's funny because I feel like it's the same artistic vision.
Interesting.
Comes out like the same sort of way of looking at the world with like these sort of soft areas, sort of mysterious areas, and unusual elements like being cut or chopped in sort of like abstract ways.
Okay. Well, that helps to like define your style or define what you're delivering for your clients too. That maybe sets you apart if you have those things that you can identify as being unique to you. You know.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of like pushing for a more abstract, almost like surreal kind of approach to like the more artistic photos that we deliver for our clients. You know, maybe things with like shades of darkness or areas that are kind of not fully defined. You know?
Okay, so when we talked about before with our emails back and forth with questions with things to discuss, you talked about the fine art aspect of your photography. So I know it's sometimes awkward to try and peg yourself or pigeonhole yourself into a particular style, but would you say you're more fine art or more sort of photojournalistic, reportage, documentary style, or a combination? How would you define how you approach? And of course, there's two of you, and do the two of you always shoot together? And if so, how does that affect things?
We 90% of the time we're shooting together.
Okay. And
we have like we very much have a really strong back and forth with how the photos get made. And since we use a lot of lighting, sometimes the person doing the lighting is like just really crucial to how it looks.
Oh yeah, totally.
And we also have that same back and forth when the edit time comes. And so sometimes one of us, Frances does this all the time, one of us will fall in love with the other person's photo and kind of adopt it. Yeah.
I'm like how you like. I feel like sometimes I'll pull Greg's photos like out of like the wreckage of our 1,000 photo collection. I'm like, this is the one.
That's right.
And when that happens, it really becomes like a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But I mean, I feel like we are fine artists. I feel like we do create fine art photography, but I feel like the definition of fine art photography, when I see imagery that's labeled as being fine art, doesn't really like resonate necessarily with what we do. I kind of feel like a lot of our work is like more in your face, high contrast, intense scenarios, sort of like imagery that can almost in some ways feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
I would say,
okay.
In that it's not traditionally beautiful.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's like, I think you could say maybe not every single photo that we deliver to a client could be considered a piece of fine art.
Right. It's wedding photography after all. There's certain
certain
expectations that clients have, right?
Yeah, but I know I really truly feel like a certain portion of them, because of the act of creation, they become that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times when Frances will be coming up with like little mini like stories in her head as she's editing a photo, and she'll be saying like, oh, okay, like, I'm thinking about like this is actually happening, or like what if this is the storyline in this photo, and she's like playing with the edit to make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it will be inspired by them and who they are and what they're into, even though that's not actually what was happening or whatnot.
Totally.
And at that point in time, I'd say those photos, because it's not about how they look aesthetically. It's like about the mindset behind the creation of them.
Right.
I think is what would make something fine art, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's the type of thing where you give the same photo to one of you guys and to another photographer, and you'll come up with, after the editing goes through, completely different end product, right? You're putting your signature on it, but not every photographer also wants to put that much effort into the artistic creation as well. Sometimes they just do quick actions on it or superficial edits and say, call it good. Some photographers like you guys, sounds like you're willing to take a couple photos and really put your mark on it, so to speak, or make it your interpretation of that photo, which takes time, right? It takes time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we like to do that for every wedding.
We put, I would say, our like entire heart, soul, and being into like every collection that we put together, definitely into like any of our portfolio pieces. It like goes back and forth between us, like. This is like our art and our life's work. It is like the things that we create for people are precious to like us.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, of course, it's they're precious to them too,
Our
and
clients.
they we get to create things that are going to be in their lives and in their families' lives for forever.
Yeah.
So if we can do that in a way that kind of is like that's a little bit more, that's a little bit deeper than just straight up photojournalism, straight up documentary, work, which we do. We primarily, shoot candid.
Okay. Yeah, we do very little posing on the
very
day.
Little
just during the portrait session. That's it.
Portraits, and we use but we're using studio lighting. Obviously, we use all the Magmod tools and the grid. We use the little nano stands, and we run around like crazy people trying to like light scenes and light actions as they're happening.
Yeah, we do a lot of so on the day of like putting on the tie or any of that stuff, we pretty much never ever are doing like can you redo, or asking in that kind of way. Right. We'll ask people to move over to maybe nicer light or something like that, but otherwise we're just moving around. We've got a nano stand, the little Manfrotto nano stands, light stand with a light on it. We'll move that around where we want it, and
I think it was Cliff Mountner. I could be wrong. Cliff Mountner, or maybe it was probably Cliff Mountner, said you set the stage for the events to unfold in. Like you create the scenario and then you allow moments to unfold. You don't direct the moments.
Right.
And that's something that we've kind of like lived by.
Yeah, we kind of adopted that.
It sounds like you take the additional step though of using light when you need to, as opposed to just all ambient, right? Because some photographers will go like all ambient, and then they'll do some light for the reception, for example. But doing it like other parts of the day, it takes a lot more effort. I'm sure you guys know.
It does. It does.
You know what? I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
As being like more work.
It is,
because it's more play.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like it's more play. Like I love, like it's with the grid especially.
She loves the grid.
You can just isolate your subject.
Yeah.
And you can just dial that background down, like hit it dark, just the face, or just the sliver of the face. And for reflections work, I mean, having control over lighting means you can the whole world becomes your studio.
Yeah.
Like you have full control. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to.
Well,
it took us a.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it took us a while to get to that point, because you have to. Part of what slowed us down in getting to that point was like fighting with our equipment. Mm-hmm. When you were saying it's more complicated or it's more work, I was definitely like feeling that with, we've had times in the past where if you're fighting your equipment, then you can't do all that stuff.
Like pocket wizards back in the day.
And cables with connectors and
you got to get to the point where you're in the flow and it's just like automatic and you're not thinking about it a lot. It's just like,
Totally.
Yeah, we love the flow.
I'm glad you brought up the flow state.
Flow. Got to get in the flow, right?
God, it's so nice.
So true.
Like when you're not thinking, when you stop thinking about what you're making or why you're making it, and definitely let go of like, is this going to be an award-winning image, or is this going to be an album image or whatever, and you're just making
images,
making images, and then like listening and following like emotionally what's happening around you. Particularly in the ladies getting ready room, I feel like I'm able to get into that place a lot. Where I'm just sort of like watching mom, and I'm watching this sister, and I'm sort of like I'm waiting, and composing at the same time.
How do you feel like your clients react, like to the setting up of the lights and the manipulation of some of your equipment? Do they sort of get used to that after a while, or do you make them comfortable with it? How do you go about making them feel okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think we do a fair bit of talking with our clients beforehand, but now that you bring it up, I don't know that I can really recall us ever talking about, okay, we're going to have lights in the room.
We're going to have a grid.
But the one thing I would say that, so we shoot unlimited days.
Yeah.
And that's all that we've been offering for weddings for almost going on 3 years now. For elopements, we'll do limited hours, but for just actual wedding days, we just only want to do the whole thing. So we show up really early. And so
that can make for a long day sometimes, right?
It can make for a very long day.
We typically shoot between 12 to 14 hours on a wedding day.
Yeah. The last wedding we photographed, we were there for 17 hours.
Oh.
So
it was so worth it, though.
It was an awesome day. It was great.
Yeah. And then you sleep for 24 hours after that.
Right.
We cuddle and back up images and rest as much as we can the day after a wedding. We do have a rule where we try and unless we're shooting a farewell brunch or something out, we don't plan.
But that was a full day. That was they started surfing in the morning, and I think it was at 7:30 in the morning or 8 in the morning. So I put the camera in the housing and I swam out with them and did photography of them in the ocean, surfing, catching waves, which was great.
Yeah,
they caught a couple waves together,
nice.
and then they ended up in the pool, and they're in. All of the wedding guests, every single wedding guest except for 2 people who were older people, they all ended up jumping in the pool.
In the pool at the end of the party.
Right, so
Well, the unlimited hour approach really lets you immerse yourself into the entire day, right? You don't feel like any restrictions at all. I think that's probably the advantage of that. Of course, the downside, some people say, I don't want to, I guess there's a fear that some clients will take advantage of that and have you for 48 hours or some ridiculous amount, but I don't see that happening very often, probably.
I feel like the people we work with get it.
Well,
they want full immersion and full connection with you guys for the whole day.
Yeah, and the way we work, which is pretty relentlessly, by the end of it, when it's clearly time, to wrap up, which is when our clients are never saying like, oh man, I really didn't feel like we quite got everything. Every time people are like, wow,
I think we got it, Especially with both of you, with both of you covering for the entire day, that's a lot of footage.
Yeah, it's a lot. And like part of the risk of doing that too is it's like, I say risk, but it's like, you have to like not allow yourself to maybe get bored. You have to just go and look and find something that you want to turn into a photo.
You have to keep your energy up.
That's true.
Find a little kid. Or a landscape.
Right. You got to find some moments where you can just sort of regroup or take a breath, because I think what a lot of people who have never shot a wedding before don't realize is that when you're shooting a wedding and you're responsible for the photos, your brain is on all the time, start to finish, no rest, no relaxation. You're constantly saying, if I take a break, I'm going to miss a photo. I'm going to miss a moment, right? I'm going to miss something important. I've made a commitment to this client that I'm going to be there, right? So it's a commitment.
Yeah, it's definitely a commitment, and it is something that I think to shoot the way that we shoot, you have to be in shape physically.
Yeah.
And
the first one in the season was always a killer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
when you're doing 14 hours.
Right.
You have to like do your squats and your lunges so that you know what like truly though to be able to like.
And we like
always halfway between kneeling and bending over is like where the good shot is.
Yeah.
So kind of like, not like awkward.
It's a great workout.
Tossing off the squat, you know,
with a bunch of gear on too. Yeah.
Yeah, with a bunch of gear.
Yeah.
I actually strip the gear off. I don't wear the gear.
Yeah.
So
I wear tons of cameras.
I just have the camera harness, and I don't like to have the other stuff because I like the mobility.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I got that works for you.
Yeah.
What about in terms of what continues to inspire you? Because a lot of photographers, need that constant source of inspiration and creativity push. And what's going to be my next thing? What can I continue to work on? You don't want to get stale, right? You want to continue to grow and as an artist. So, what do you guys turn to for like inspiration or creativity?
That's a good question.
I guess I feel like there's two kind of like avenues for that for us. Like the first one being like obviously ISPWP,
of course.
And looking at the incredible work that other photographers do and other organizations like Fearless or Masters and whatever, and looking for what are other people in the industry doing or how are they approaching like these different scenarios, because with wedding photography it's the same scenario over and over and over again. Right. The tie, the dress, the kiss. How can you tell it differently? Like how can you, these same rituals that happen over and over again, how can you find a unique perspective, particularly if you're shooting the same venue?
Yeah.
But then
I was just thinking about the Goya.
That's what I was like, that was like that was the next thing I was gonna say.
Recent example.
We also look for a lot of inspiration for our lighting and composition in other art forms. Mm-hmm. We were in New York. We were at the Met, and we were looking at. It was a painting by Goya.
I think it's Francisco Goya.
And it's a painting of the baby. It's a portrait of the baby Jesus when he's in the manger, mm-hmm. and there's a light emitting from him, and there's gathered around him. Of
I
course,
think I know that. I think I know that painting.
Wife. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the light, it's that uplight.
It's uplighting.
It's light from below.
Which is bad.
Yeah, right.
It's sort of like can be sometimes considered like horror lighting or whatever. But seeing it painted that way and seeing that light coming up from the baby Jesus, it was like. I felt like I saw that light in a whole new way. Mm-hmm. It became more of like a holy light, more of like a light that we could play with. So we've been using that during reception.
Especially we've been playing around with it lately, like at the reception. How you like sometimes there's a scenario where a group of people all bunch up like this. Mm-hmm. So if you point the light at them, well, this person's going to get a bit of it, and it can be. So we've been playing around with. We'll just put it underneath, and we give them the Goya light.
Yeah,
and it's like
and it's all that up light.
Yeah,
that
So we look a lot at.
That's
painting.
just the last couple months we've been kind of playing with the Goya light after we saw that, or like
Yeah.
I'm the same way because I'm like you guys. I love art galleries. I could live in an art gallery. And when I'm looking at a painting, what's going on in my mind is not only how did the artist create it, but I'm trying to imagine a lot like the Goya painting. How did they do the light? Where did the light come from? Why didn't they do the light this way? Are they consistent in their lighting of the subjects? And it's fascinating. I wish I was a painter.
I know. I will say
painters
with light, right?
Yeah. I will say that I studied art and drawing and illustration and light and all that for so many years, but it wasn't until I got into photography and spent a long time with photography before I really started to understand light and how it works and how it bounces off of things, and that's been a really cool journey for me. Is figuring out like, wow, how, what happens when it's small and it bounces off something reflective, and how does that look when it comes back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting to learn that.
And that's the type of thing too
that
that it takes time and experience to sort of go through all of those different exercises and all of those different practice sessions to understand the use of light and the different ways to manipulate light. It's years and years of experience. That's all it is.
Yeah, just to be able to see it takes years.
Yeah.
To be able to notice, like, oh, there's this window light happening here behind. You know what I mean? To just be able to identify light in a space takes time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then others, places for inspiration. I currently am spending like a lot of my free time doing woodworking, and I have some relaxation, and I'd say maybe a little bit of inspiration from that, but I don't think it's affecting my photography too much currently.
Frances doesn't look convinced.
It's good. It's a meditative practice, so
yeah,
it's good.
I go so slowly.
Yeah.
Sanding and things like that.
Yeah.
But definitely, I'd say, looking at painting, looking at drawing, looking at music videos.
Oh, interesting. Music videos.
Music videos.
Actually,
there's some amazing stuff goes on with music videos.
Yeah.
There's one video. It's I'm gonna say his name wrong. It's Tyga or Tyga. Tyga, like, want a taste. It's like, hey, guy, I'm not even gonna try. It's like, can I get a taste? It's a rap video. But it's all shot with blue and yellow gels, like hardcore blue and yellow gels. So it's like we're talking like full blue, full yellow. So the last couple of receptions we've shot, we've been experimenting with playing with heavily gelled lights.
Interesting.
So no natural skin tone, just blue, just red, just like full like party colors.
Yeah.
That's one thing we've been playing around with more is gelling lights. Definitely during the reception. Lots of the receptions we shoot, because it's unlimited days, and in Puerto Rico, it gets dark around 7 o'clock. So sometimes we've got 4 or 5 hours of reception stuff. So we get to experiment. We've been using a lot more gels, and that the last couple weddings we shot, we were playing around with really harshly gel just to mix it up, and
that'll give you an interesting look. And not only that, but if the client is not expecting it, and then the photos come out with those highly gelled flashes, they're going to say, what wedding is this from? Right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's the DJs always have so many, you know what I mean? And it's more about like, sometimes the like photographic reality can be almost better than what was actually there, the like fugly white fence. It's like, come on.
And our clients are cool too. We have, I'm telling you, we have such cool clients that, they if they see us, or if we tell them we're like, oh, we're going to try and do like a little creation or a little art thing with these colors. They're all of our clients are like, oh yes, do it. Go, make something cool. Yeah. Which is great. I'm really grateful that we have so many
amazing people who support us in our journey and in being creative. And
that's great. Yeah, well, I think photographers tend to find the right client for them, as long as you're being honest and you're showing your prospective clients the type of work you do, and you're being totally upfront with your approach and what your style is. You'll connect, right? And if you don't connect, then they're not the right client for you necessarily.
Yeah. I think the more we started doing that, then the more we were getting clients that connected with us.
Yeah.
The more we started showing, I was going to say, we like making weird photos. Frances especially, she just loves it. And it's like, the more we started putting the weird photos on our website, on our blog posts, on our Facebook, people see that. And I say weird, but it's also, you could call them creative. In the same breath, but people can recognize that, and so.
Well, they say this is not the type of photos that I'm going to get from every other photographer. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's going to attract the right clients to you. So.
Yeah. And it's funny because we've had, we have so many like awesome clients, but we have found that sometimes our clients' personalities are much more kind of like analytical and linear, maybe you could say, than our personalities, and they're expecting us to have things kind of organized a certain way or whatnot. Whereas when we shoot, we're just kind of like going like, oh,
yeah, it's an organic, creative.
Come over here.
Playtime.
I'm doing it. And they're like, this isn't on the schedule.
Right.
Yeah, we've had that. Yeah, we have. Some of we have a range of clients. A lot of our clients, are kind of more in the analytical, left brain, like bankers, lawyers, people, but have a deep appreciation for art. And then we also work with a lot of people who are artists, who are like singers or performers or painters, stuff like that.
Right, and I know you guys travel a lot. I know you work both in Oregon and Puerto Rico and really almost everywhere. Do you find like the clients have a different approach or different expectations from different locations or different geographies? And how do you guys adjust to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that for sure our destination clients, which is the bulk of the work we do in Puerto Rico and just destinations and weddings in general, have
destination meaning all of their guests have also traveled.
Yeah, right. Everyone is traveling.
Right.
Not us, but everyone is traveling. Typically, those weddings have a little bit more of like kind of a party vibe going on. Everyone's on vacation. No one has to drive home anywhere.
Right.
So those are like more like amped energy, excitement. Whereas some of the others can be a little bit more like mellower or easier in that sense.
Although, yeah, it's funny. I feel like I'd say there's different expectations in terms of how people behave at different weddings. But in general, Greg and I are sort of just doing our thing. Honestly, I don't really talk much on wedding day. I'm very quiet. But in terms of like the actual photography and what gets delivered, I would say at like a lot, a bigger, larger, sort of more traditional wedding, we may put more focus on some of those more traditional, photographs. Make sure we get beautiful mom and daughter,
right?
Beautiful mom, daughter, and grandma before the wedding. You know what I mean? Those people are present, and that's the energy that's happening is like more traditional familial energy, as opposed to a blowout destination wedding where like maybe grandma came, maybe she didn't make it. You know what I mean? But there's more college friends and this and that happening, and so you're doing more of the like party, champagne shots with the girls beforehand. So it's like depending on who's there, and who's present, I feel like kind of more.
It sounds like you guys can adjust to whatever situation is in front of you, and that's the key, right? To be able to take who they are, kind of people that they are, the environment that you're in, and adjust to it. That's the key.
Yeah. I think that's the plan.
And even with the traditional, like you want to have the beautiful shot of the mother and daughter or whatever it is, there can still be a well executed artistic approach to doing that, as opposed to what they call the firing squad shots that line up and shoot, right?
Yeah.
You can, if you're willing to take your time and the effort, those can still be beautifully done in artistic shots as well.
Oh, absolutely. And they're so meaningful. Those pictures are so important to people. I mean, moving forward.
So true.
We love all the beautiful work that, we create and the artistic imagery that we make, but those pictures are what, they're going to be hanging on people's walls.
Yeah.
And
that's what they'll be showing their grandkids.
Yeah, we have fun with gels during the reception. Mom and daughter is like,
it's another moment, and we will, too, for some of that type of thing, try and create a scenario, or we'll, instruct. Sometimes I'll say, I really want a photo with my grandma, but I don't want like the cheesy photo with her. And I was like, well, maybe you take some time during that getting ready period of the day and give her a gift. Or pull her aside for a moment and just tell her how you feel about her.
Yeah.
Tell her how happy you are that she's there. And that's a real moment. That's a real thing that's happening. And then we just capture that.
Yeah, sometimes we'll just ask people to just take some time together for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they want a photo together, it's like, well, why don't you two just, you know, take a few moments together over by this window,
Yeah.
you know, and then just, it's like, you know, that can, you know, we can do, if you want to grip and grin, we can do that. But then it's like, you know, just take a few minutes, spend a few minutes together,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then we'll just kind of like hang out. And I think people, you know, people appreciate that.
Yeah. They understand, they know, they want to feel. People want to have feelings and emotions on wedding day with the people around them.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you guys are giving them permission to do that, and they feel like it's okay that they don't have to perform for the camera. You're giving them permission to be themselves, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's one of ours. We like to shut it down anytime someone tries to do that with a kid. Because everyone wants to make the kids perform.
Oh yeah.
Right. They want to tell them what to do. They want to get in the way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, don't tell children to smile for the camera.
Yeah, we try and shut that down.
Let them do their own thing.
If you put yourself in their shoes, then you would feel awkward too, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But we do. We truly want people to feel comfortable to be completely who they are at all moments. It doesn't matter that we're there, like getting in and out of the shower, getting this makeup kind of on, kind of not on. Maybe there's something happening. Like there was this one client, and she was having sort of like a difficult moment with regards to her makeup, and she sort of in her makeup, and she was sort of like crying and this and that, and I'm shooting this moment, and it was sort of almost a questionable moment because it's like, well, do you really want to remember that? But her partner came up to her and was like comforting her and telling her that she looked beautiful, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you want. So sort of, it's okay to be upset.
Yes, it's an honest
Wedding
moment.
day is it's a big deal. Wedding day is a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions, and all those things sort of make up like the truth of who we are as people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's important to pass on.
Yeah.
Truth. You want to pass on the truth
yeah.
of your family members. Like I would love for people to be able to have more insight and more understanding of their grandparents because we photographed their wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I sort of wish I knew my grandmother more, and I have her wedding album, or my family has her wedding album, and there's some shots in there that I'm like, that's so Adrienne. I can tell that it's so her, but it's like, just imagine had she been being captured in the style that we shoot.
Yeah.
How much more would I understand about who she is?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sort of part of it. I don't know what drives me to capture those.
Yeah. I think that's true with most people when they look back and see photos of their grandparents. They'll see like the formal portraits like at a wedding or something. They'll say, oh, that's grandma and grandpa, and they'll be able to identify them. But every once in a while you'll see like a candid photo like at a picnic or like at the beach or just hanging out. And it's like, that's more, I don't know, more human, more heartwarming. You feel more of a connection because it's real,
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like somebody will have like their trademark smirk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or they're wearing something that's kind of this or that, or they're looking at
right.
right. And you understand the relationship.
Yeah, and personality gets captured. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a great segue. Okay, let's start looking at some photos then, because now we want to see what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, what the heck are we talking about?
I'm going to
be right back while you get that loaded up.
Share screen. Start sharing. Okay, so you guys should be able to see this photo, I think. I should be sharing on Skype? Okay.
Do I have to do any? I don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. No, I'll be sharing the photos from here. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Oh my God. This is a special one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here we go. So what's going on with this one? This is obviously she's in the water somewhere.
Yeah, she's in the water. She's in the water somewhere. This photo was taken in Tulum, Mexico. Near
Tulum.
In one of the cenotes in Mexico, which are if you ever go, they're amazing. Crystal clear water. They're these sort of like collapsed caves. So there's all this like fresh well water that comes up from them. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this photo, or share this photo, is because when we realized we were going to shoot this wedding in Mexico, we knew we were going to do a portrait session with them. We knew we wanted to do something in a cenote. So we did a ton of research on all the different cenotes. I'm like, looking through other photographers' work, where can we go? And the day before, we drove and we went and visited 6 different cenotes.
Just driving.
We're looking like
that's a lot of location scouting.
Yeah. Well, we kept feeling like we're gonna find the perfect one. It's got to be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
we're like the porridge was just not right at each one.
Yeah, totally. So and we we had fun with it. We had our cameras, we had the underwater housing and stuff when we were playing, and I guess it's like this photo. There's actually a picture of me that's sort of like this.
The
test shot, right?
The day before,
nice.
Or whatever.
But it's like this shot to find.
That's commitment. I'm telling you, Frances, that's commitment.
Well, we found the cenote. We ended up finding a cenote, and we showed up and we told them what we wanted to do, and they said, "Oh well, this is our family's land. We own this cenote. This is where we do the tours. But if you want, we have another smaller one over here that's not part of the tours and open, and you can just rent that for a couple hours." So once we found that, we were like, oh wow, oh my gosh, so we had the whole place to ourselves.
So you have to put in, when you do destination work, there's a certain amount of preparation and research that goes into executing it well. I mean, to find a place like this with an overhang, to be able to, maybe sometimes you just walk into something like that. And, obviously we try not to over-plan. You don't want to have your heart set on a particular shot. And then
we don't want to completely rely on luck either. You want to have some expectation of success here.
Yes. So, she was...
Well, the trick, too, is finding a client that's willing to do that, because not all clients want to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. The water was chilly.
The water was chilly, so it was a limited time frame that we could spend in the water.
Yeah.
Well, how long was she in the water for?
All said, probably maybe a half an hour. We started like this, and then Steve got in the water with her, and we did some. Actually, sorry, no, we started because we started halfway in the water and stuff. She didn't go all the way in right after.
Yeah, we did some of those split where you can see the bottom of the dress under the water, and then she's dry. And there were fish and stuff. It was super, super beautiful. But for this shot, Greg actually was shooting this, and I was like dropping flower petals and stuff.
That's what I was going to ask. That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, there was pieces of her bouquet. They were just
there's some meaning there. That's great.
Yeah. So and it's her wedding colors and stuff. I just feel like she looks so serene here.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous shot, and it has a very painterly feel as well. You can see this being a painting almost with the abstract forms and colors around her. It's gorgeous.
Definitely.
Yeah, but not all clients are willing to do that, because I know I've been on some fashion and commercial shoots, and they can take hours for setup and lighting, and just like you have to have a lot of patience. So for you to execute this in a short amount of time is very well done.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Not easy to do. Let me tell you, a lot of work goes into something like that.
Here we go.
Here we go. This has been all over the place. Yeah, you got to tell me the story about this one.
This one is amazing. The whole experience of this wedding was amazing. This was taken in St. Bart, which is one of the French Caribbean islands, and it's at a place called Nikki Beach, which is it's an experience going there. Everyone dances on tables. The tables are super thick. Because that's the thing to do. People just dance on tables. And this was actually we were hired to shoot. We shot 4 days. I think it was four days with them, and this was Sunday. So this was the farewell brunch. The day after the wedding, And one of the bridesmaids was standing on the table, dancing, pouring water all over herself, and these were the reactions. But
was there any alcohol involved here?
Oh, there was.
I'm thinking maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were drinking Dom Perignon.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was an amazing event. So happy we were able to shoot it. But one of the reasons that I love this photo is, for me, this picture represents a change in my ability as a photographer to not shoot what's happening, to shoot the story.
Yes.
Because everyone's looking at the girl. So you could shoot the girl, but the girl doesn't tell the story.
Yeah.
You know? And I also...
Yeah, because you're right, because the default shot here would be, I want to shoot the whole scene, I want to get the girl in the picture, or shoot up at her, or capture everything. But the focus here is on the guy looking up at her. That's the story. Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah.
And I remember I started this when this all started to happen. We were kind of actually like off on the side, and I had the longer lens, and so I'm like running, because like I'm running around, so it was like I pre-visualized wanting to shoot between her legs with this longer lens to have that, having that compression.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was like one of the first times as a photographer that I was really like understanding how to use my tools in the moment to capture something that I wanted, how to tell the story that I actually wanted to tell. It was a very conscious, this shot was very deliberate, even though it's candid. I don't know.
A funny side note about this shot is that we were talking to, we found out later that they used this photo for his birthday card.
Oh,
later.
nice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm sure he appreciated that.
Yeah.
I think it might be on some coasters or something.
Yeah, they ran with it.
And how cool is that? If that's your uncle or that's your grandfather, and that's the photo that you get to have of him, like how awesome. Pure joy.
It was entertaining. It was a lot of entertainment.
Yeah. No, it's one of those real moments that is just so special sometimes.
Yeah. This is a cool.
Yeah.
This is a cool one.
This is a nice, in a different way. So tell me what's going on here.
So this is one of my shots, and I actually shot this second shooting for a friend of mine, Darian Chu, and so I kind of got groom duty, and this room at this place, they didn't really have a specific room for him to go to kind of do to his getting ready necessarily.
As we see, it happens a lot with grooms, right? You get the closet somewhere, right?
Yeah. So he's actually inside of a barn. So like that's the roof of a barn. And so I just kind of took over the barn, and I noticed that it had these like gigantic sliding barn doors. So I went in there and I closed all the doors, the other doors that were open, and we opened those giant barn doors, just a tiny little crack, maybe like this. I like that. That's one of my favorite lights. It's long and skinny.
Yeah.
And see, there you go. There you go. Controlling the light in an impromptu way. It's great.
Yeah. And it took a little bit of, I had to keep going and closing the doors because people would come and open them. Like I think the videographer was trying to open them and stuff, and I'm like, no. And then I've kind of been playing around with trying to capture that tie, that tie flip. I have like another one that I just got. It's like a cool little tie in motion thing.
And this angle is ballsy too. Greg's like right underneath him. Directly underneath. This is probably was shot with the 35?
Yeah, it's the 35. So I'm a couple inches away from him right now.
Well, plus too, you have to get into that place with your clients that they're comfortable with you being there, and he's not going to be looking down like, "What the hell are you doing down there?" Right? So, that he trusts that you're just doing your thing, and he's going to do his thing. But the timing is great to be able to get this the tie at that moment is not the easiest thing to do. Yeah,
it was fun. It was cool. I was kind of like, I think I'm, the shutter speed was kind of in the right place, so everything is frozen, but that tie is whipping.
Has a little blur to it.
So I was really happy with this and happy to, just won ISPWP award for this. Of course.
Well, it's a good lesson in a lot of ways, I say, because I'm always trying to convince photographers to take a different angle, right? So here's a nice low angle. It typically gives you cleaner backgrounds if you're shooting with a low angle. And it lends itself to a number of different opportunities that just stand-up shooting doesn't always get you.
Yeah, we definitely we get low a lot.
Oh yeah, we get low a lot. We're bending a lot to get clean angles and to clear up the clutter in the background or fill the frame with sky. And you get more hands somehow too. You get more hands in the frame when you're lower than if you're shooting from a standing position.
Yeah, and it's good for the quads too.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a great workout.
This is a cool one.
Yeah.
Oh, the Sea Witch.
Yes.
Yeah. The Sea Witch. Yeah, this is Juliet. And she had a Sea Witch sort of inspired wedding, and I had that in my mind while I was creating, and then of course also while editing. This photograph was taken at the Sunset Salon in Rincon, Puerto Rico during the getting ready portion of the day. And there are all these palm fronds, like in a potted palms outside that were reflecting. I was standing outside of the salon and the palms were reflecting onto the glass. So I was shooting through the glass with the palms reflected on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And are there some shadows falling on her as well? Or is that just more of the reflection?
It's the reflection.
It's all a reflection, okay.
It was like everything else was too bright. So the palms, the shadow of the palms on the glass, like almost acted as in like an ND filter kind of. And it sort of created this image, and then I blew it, and I blew all the highlights out hard in post.
Yeah. This is the type of image that I'd love to see the original raw photo,
it's more
and see how far you came.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly colorful.
It's surprisingly colorful. I had it colorful for a while, but ended up deciding that I really liked it in black and white.
Oh yeah, black and white.
I love how this image is. To me, this image is powerful, and in a sort of like witchy kind of way, in a sort of like warrior-esque sort of way. I feel like the palm fronds almost look like a warrior sort of piece, and the way there's like almost a cross in front of her eye, and this image this wouldn't be considered a pretty bride shot, like no. Traditional type of thing. But I find it to be really moving, and I feel like it really says a lot about who she is as a person.
Yeah, and I see a couple of creative things to learn here. Is number one, going from what I'm assuming the raw file looked like to this takes a lot of creative vision, number one. Number two, to be able to execute it to your vision, number two. And number three, to capture all those elements at just the right moment where it all works, that's not easy to do either. Because to get her face in that profile state with the right reflection to show the fronds that could be like hair, to have everything work together, this is like one of those 1,000,000-to-1 shots that just everything came together,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, totally. I did shoot this scene a lot. I mean, I hung when she was there. I hung there
because you knew something was there. You knew you were going to get something out of this
totally. Yeah. I feel like you have to commit to a scene.
Yeah.
If you feel like you've got something good, commit, stay, shoot more, take a few more frames, And I think I jumped off it and then I went back to, you know what I mean? Like I kept kind of like coming back to this place.
You knew instinctively something was there and you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Going to get it.
Totally.
Yeah, that's one of the things Frances excels at that I'm trying to improve on is just hanging out in a spot.
Yeah.
Not leaving.
Especially if your inner sense is telling you that there's something there, and it's going to be a unique shot. You got to get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's another unique shot.
Yes.
not your typical pretty kid shot at a wedding, right?
So this is one of my shots. This is one of those like times when I'm glad there was no adult around. Who I think an adult finally did show up and probably distracted this kid, and she took off. But I was indoors and she was outside, and so we couldn't talk or communicate or anything like that.
There's glass there, right?
There's glass.
Yeah,
so
okay.
She's smashing her.
That's what I thought.
Face up against the glass. And there wasn't too much to it. She wasn't. I don't even know if she was even really paying attention to me, but she kind of was. I mean, I was this far away from her, so you know, see me. But yeah, this photo is fun. I probably went through 15 different versions of edits of this photo before I decided on the one that I submitted to ISPWP. The color was a little bit tricky.
I know you had it in black and white for a little while.
Had it in black and white. It was just it was a little bit complicated to get the color and the brightness and everything.
I can definitely see a black and white version of this, but I think the color works. I think you made the right choice here because of the blue eyes and then the color around the hair, the flowers. Yeah.
Yeah, the flowers, I felt like in black and white, you couldn't really tell it was a flower.
Right.
You know? But yeah, this is just a really fun, like, kind of, you know, one of those, like, 4-inch away photos, you know, where I was just, like, right there, just kind of posted up, and she was doing it, and I was just kind of sitting there taking photos, you know?
And I'm guessing the raw image, the original out-of-camera image, she would have been pretty dark.
Yeah. Yeah, she was significantly darker, kind of like a funky green color. And I actually on the left eye, I did a little bit of kind of burning and dodging to kind of bring a little touch of detail into that kind of, because I think this was shot at like 1.8 or something like that. Yeah. So it's just a little bit off.
Well, it's not obvious that you did a really good job with it. So.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I was in there pretty tight.
Isn't it amazing what you can pull out of raw images these days? It's just
totally.
It's incredible. What do you guys shoot with?
Nikon. We shoot with D750s.
Okay.
Or
solid camera.
We're just happy with them.
Yeah.
So they actually announced the successor to the D750s.
Oh, really?
But we love our D750s. So
it's like an extension of my arm. I you know what I mean? It's like at this point, I feel like I know that camera so well, and the weight of it, and I don't know.
Yeah, but progress in technology marches on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Tosh or Luce?
Tosh.
Tosh.
This is Tosh.
Okay.
Oh my God, I love this photo so much.
Obviously on a beach somewhere, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this is on the beach.
Okay.
I think this is on the beach in Rincon. I think at
3 in the morning.
Yeah, about 3 a.m.
You're kidding me.
Sometimes you just gotta go for
it. Why 3 a.m.?
Because we shoot because
they were still going
the whole time because the party was still rocking.
So this was literally the wedding day after the reception.
Yeah, she still has her like wedding.
Yeah, I see the wedding veil on. Yeah,
but she changed into her bikini.
Fantastic.
And she was sort of. They were all like, I mean, yeah, you can imagine. Like everyone's like jumping in the ocean, woo, whatever, this and that, and she was sort of sitting on the edge of the water, and I was shooting her. And I was just shooting her with my on camera because I hadn't gone to run and grab the light on a stand yet because I just ran out to the beach. And I saw her sitting there and I was like, oh man, I got it. And I ran back. I grabbed my light on the stand. I think it had like a disc diffuser on it. And I just put it. I just stuck that thing in the sand. You know, risking gear.
Salt water, what could go wrong, right?
In the ocean, you know, and shooting this. And I love how peaceful and serene and beautiful she looks in this just like explosive like fray of water.
Yeah.
You know, and she's a heavier bride. She's a bigger girl. And she loves this photo. And she was like, Frances, thank you so much. You made me feel so beautiful. You know?
Nice, yeah.
and
Well,
that just means like,
from a photographer perspective, I think the most impressive thing about this is that you didn't place her there; she was already more or less there, and for you to just on the spot get the lighting in place, get the composition in place. This could be the type of thing where some photographers would spend hours putting together, right, to get the
totally
right.
yeah,
And
it's very
that's what
cool.
people need to be able to appreciate is how quick sometimes you need to be able to act to get a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, see that it's happening.
Yep.
And just kind of go for it, and
Yeah.
and
I
sometimes it works
actually,
out, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case,
Sure.
it absolutely worked out.
yeah. Yeah. I actually wasn't there for this wedding. But yeah, that's like one of the things that we do is every scenario is different. So not every time, but a majority of the time, once it's dark, the way we shoot is we call it teammates mode, and one of us will have the light and the other will shoot.
Right.
Yeah, either with a disc or a grid on it.
Yeah.
And we're like looking at each other and lighting.
Yeah,
And
a lot of eye
contact.
and we'll kind of check in. A lot of showing the camera back, so whoever's lighting is constantly seeing, okay, so that they can be in tune with like this distance. What is it? How much light am I putting off when I'm this far away with it versus this far?
Or short, because sometimes it looks really good when you short light a scene, and then sometimes you want to broad light it.
Right.
Depending on what's happening. So it's in a way the person with the light, I feel like, is sometimes really making the creative choices about how the image is going to.
Sure.
Especially if it's something like a grid.
I hear you use grids. Is that true?
Did we mention?
I think we mentioned the grids. Yeah.
We've got this is a grid. Yeah.
I love this photo.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
this is
you.
beautiful.
Yeah, this is I shot this one. This is at the Royal Isabella in Puerto Rico. And
it's a tower.
Yeah, this property is really incredible. It's a golf course, but it's also a land preserve, which is awesome. They've basically, taken a ton of land and it's all like preserved. But there's a beautiful tower right in the center. And, there's sort of like a traditional shot that people take. There's like a little hole through the tower and you silhouette them there.
Right.
And like, that's the tower shot or whatever. And I kind of wanted that shot earlier and didn't get it. But later on, was kind of messing around and decided to shoot the tower from the inside going up.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the wide angle lens, this is an ambient photo. There isn't any flash in this. This is 100%
That was my next
ambient.
question. Yeah, because it looked ambient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can see the lights up at the top, lighting the tower at the top area.
Yeah, and the blue, that like twilight blue coming through the windows. But yeah, like getting low. I think this was the 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wide. Yeah.
The 35. I think
it's the 14.
I think it's the 14. Shot from a low angle, and then we had the couple kind of like teapot lean towards the camera to correct the
to get the silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah, to correct the distortion a little bit. But I love this.
So you don't end up with that like really long body.
Right. Tiny little heads.
Yeah, and we just had a few minutes to get this. This was a really, really quickie, a really, really quickie execution. But I love how it's almost kind of has like a wormhole effect. Like it has like a vortex, sort of almost like psychedelic feel to it. Like you're getting pulled into this, I don't know, deep place.
Yeah.
But
No, it just works. I love the composition of it, and I think your timing is great because if those windows were black instead of blue, it wouldn't have had the same impact,
Yeah, the twilight,
definitely.
The twilight light coming through. Yeah. Can't never get tired of good silhouette photos.
Yeah, right? Aww.
Here's a great detail shot.
Juliana.
Yeah, Juliana.
I wonder what the lighting on this one.
This is natural light.
It's window light.
Window light.
Look at those
This is
goosebumps.
window light.
Yeah.
Yeah, this photo, I love this photo.
It's an emotional wedding.
Very emotional wedding, very emotional day. And to like, I feel like goosebumps, you can't fake goosebumps.
Nope.
They're real. And I saw her having this reaction and I was shooting it but I wanted more out of the shot. And I said, "Oh, can you just straighten your necklace?" You know what I mean? Like, and so
not place your hands here and here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So she's just naturally doing that.
Yeah.
She has these beautiful, long, like elegant looking fingers. But yeah, I love this shot. It's also, another one that's sort of maybe not necessarily like a traditionally beautiful image. I find it very beautiful.
Yeah,
very
no,
neat.
it is beautiful. Yeah, the natural position of the hands, the lighting, the detail, the nice clean composition, and I love you got her part of her face out of focus.
Yeah. Yeah, the depth of field in this one
is
is
great.
really nice.
Yeah,
for sure. I have some shots that are just her lips in focus as well, but obviously you don't get the goosebumps.
No, it's lovely.
Yeah, I love that photo.
Yeah.
From the same wedding. This is from the same wedding.
Okay.
Yeah. This is also Frances's
Yeah,
photo.
this is one of my shots.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, powerful moment, powerful ceremony moment. I mean, there were a lot of tears, a lot of crying, and just real words being spoken during this wedding. And this was sort of just like getting in close, being present, being fully in the moment to take the picture.
Yeah, he doesn't care that you're there. He's
no.
He's doing his thing. He's I'm guessing, is he reading vows or what's he doing?
He's reading vows.
Nice.
This is the efficient.
Okay. But but that moment of him wiping the brows is such a great moment to capture.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that like I learned from Two Man is that they say like they want be in the moment, be close, be as close as you would want, or they tell their clients to be as close as you would want your kids to be or your future kids to be to you, like within that moment. As I was sort of starting to have that in my head when we shot this wedding. And in a way, being very physically close to someone when they're having an emotional experience can be, you sort of almost have to, for me anyway, you have to push through that sort of personal space like boundary. Yep. Where, especially if you're in sort of come from like an American background or a more, I don't know, there's sort of, you don't get close to someone when they're crying.
Personal space, right?
Yeah, that's just not something you do. So sort of being able to sort of like mentally say, it's okay, go there, be in that place, get that, you know what I mean, is important. I feel like that's how this shot happened.
Absolutely. Well, it says a lot for you two guys also as photographers that you can create that level of trust with your clients that they're okay with that. You know, you have to have some level of rapport and some level of understanding and trust that they say, you know, I hired Greg and Frances because this is the type of image that I want. I like them as people. I'm comfortable with them getting close to me, and I'm just going to let them do what they're going to do. As opposed to like some photographers who don't necessarily have that ability to build that rapport or that trust level. So it says a lot for you guys that you can do that kind of a shot, you know, because he literally doesn't care that you're there.
No,
he is oblivious to your camera right there.
Yeah. And we put a decent amount of effort into that.
Yeah.
And we spend time with our clients, like generally over the phone or Skype. And so we try, you know, it's pretty common that when we're showing up, like seeing our clients, we're getting like big hugs for the first time. It's like, oh my gosh, oh hi, and it's a big hug, and so thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's and then, you know, also by the time we get to this point in the wedding, you've generally been taking their photo for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I feel like energetically
this wedding was different.
If you're in close, but you don't have like a frantic energy about you. If you're calm and you're holding space for someone and shooting, it's not distracting for them.
Right.
you're all like, obviously it's going to cause a problem. It's kind of like get in there, shoot, move on.
Yeah.
Get in there. It's like calm, moving with sort of like a calmer energy, especially during the ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like to think of it as if it's similar to when you hold your breath. So like when you're taking a candid photo of someone, they can only have that like intensity, kind of like awareness, like strange, whatever. They can only do that for so long. You have to like, you have to like give up at some point in time, and then it's like, okay, So yeah, I like to, So that's how I think of it. I think of it as like holding your breath. It's like you can only be so tense and like guarded for so long before you.
Right. Sooner or later, you have to let the guard down after a while.
Yeah.
It's too difficult to keep it up for the whole time. Okay, last photo.
Britt and Dan.
Another great real moment here.
Yeah, this wedding was just like last month, basically.
I'm guessing at a beach somewhere. I see Hawaiian shirts.
Yes, this is the wedding. This was the one we were talking about that started with surfing in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so the two of them just made their appearance in their matching late night outfits. If you see, they have the two matching outfits on.
Right.
So they just showed up back to the party with their matching outfits.
And this shot, I think, was actually taken like jumping.
Oh yeah. So Frances was jumping to get this.
Oh, you were jumping. They weren't jumping.
She was jumping.
I'm jumping. Greg
to get high
to
enough.
get high enough. Like some of these super tall photographers can just like.
I know. Right.
And so like Greg's got the light on the off to the side, off in his hand.
So your hand holding the light on the stand?
I was just hand holding the light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the party stuff, I'll just hold the speed light right in my hand. I don't like to put it on a stick or anything.
Okay.
Just mobility reasons.
Yeah.
Because this is directional light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's closer to being on camera, but it's still like giving that dimension.
Yeah, this is with one of those little discs that's about this big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was jumping. I was just like jumping,
jumping, click, jumping, click, jumping, click,
jumping, click. And I'm so excited to get this shot of the two of them, like epic stoke expressions without any hands covering their faces.
Yeah.
And you can also see the DJ in the background and the saxophone player, which is really cool.
Yeah, if you look you can see the DJ, and if you look to the left, the other guy who's looking, he's a saxophone player. They have a duo called Sunset Social or Pina Express, where they play one DJs and the other plays the saxophone. It's
really
good.
incredible. So this is just a great moment. And we have fun during the party.
Yeah, we dance. We will dance during for the
sure. Right.
Yeah, Greg and I get down.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, that way, not only the client, but all of the guests get comfortable with you bumping shoulders with them and getting in close too, right? That was going to take some great shots too.
Definitely.
It looks like, in terms of what I like about this is compositionally wise, where they're placed, all the repeating pattern of the arms. There's a lot of nice things photographically going on here. Do you guys do a lot of cropping in terms of recompositioning, or how heavily editing do you do for just shots like this?
It depends. I think this is almost basically full frame.
Yeah, I don't think this shot got cropped too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're not afraid to crop. I mean, Frances will crop down to nothing.
Yeah, I'll crop
if she feels like it. If she feels like it, she'll just be like, "I'm making this."
right. I'm taking a little tiny square over here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. That's pixels.
We're not purists in that way, where it's not like we don't try and say like, "Oh, if it's not cropped in the camera," it's like just when we're creating it.
Yeah.
It's whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the current cameras and file sizes allow us to do that now. We couldn't do that before, so.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's not really a problem.
No.
We got a lot of pixels to work with. So.
Yeah. Well, I think this collection of photos. I'm sorry I had to narrow it down, but it gives a nice cross section. I think people get a good sense for the combination of the importance of capturing the real moments, but also the fine art, artistic, creative approach to photography that you guys share. So I was really glad to share that.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
thank
you
you.
so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
This has been really awesome. It's been
Yeah.
really great getting to chat with you and
Yeah, I really enjoyed it,
talk
you
about
guys.
everything.
And have a great New Year. It's December 31st. This is the last interview of the year, so hope you guys have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah.
And
You guys have
yeah,
any
thanks
big
for having
plans for New Year's?
We're working
We're
tonight.
shooting a party.
You're
We're
working?
shooting a party.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
we're
Where are you
shooting
shooting?
here in Portland.
Yeah.
We're
Like
shooting
Yeah.
a New Year's Eve
a
party.
private party somewhere?
Yeah.
It'll be at the Watershed. In
PDX.
Watershed PDX, yeah, it's gonna be
Nice.
epic. It's like a speakeasy party, and we deliberated a little bit on whether or not we wanted to work over New Year's Eve. We were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But ultimately, we decided we're having more
We
fun.
have fun
We
with
have
it,
fun when
so.
we're shooting. So why
Hey,
not spend
you
New Year's
get
doing
to go to a
something
party
fun?
and you don't have to pay for it, right?
Yeah,
You're getting paid to be at a party.
Exactly.
That's one of the great things about being a wedding photographer. You get paid to be at a party all day.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, you guys. Great meeting with you, and take care and enjoy your New Year's.
Likewise.
Awesome.
Bye, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk soon. Bye.